Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. In October last year, Hurricane Melissa left a significant mark on Jamaica's education system, damaging more than 600 schools and disrupting learning for thousands of students across the island. Since then, a range of measures have been rolled out to keep education on track, especially for schools that were hardest hit. These include temporary relocation arrangements. That's where students from non-operational schools continue classes at alternative institutions, as well as targeted relief grants to support recovery within the education sector. Now, as schools enter the second term of this academic year and begin early preparations for the next year, the key question is, what systems are in place to ensure learning continues without interruption? Joining us to give the latest update is the Acting Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Ms. Terry-Ann Thomas-Gale. Lady Thomas-Gale, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Henry.
All right, let's get the easy part out of the way. Over 600 schools damaged.
Yes.
Are we accurate at that number?
Our current count right now is 713 schools.
Wow.
Yes.
In various degrees of
degrees of disrepair. We have them in priorities. So we have priority 1, we have about 333 schools. Priority 2, priority 1, those are the schools that are severely impacted, meaning that it interrupts the regular flow of operations.
Like roof gone.
Roof gone, building demolished. So we have about 311, I think, of those schools. And then for priority 2, we have about 308 and 94 in priority 3. Priority 2 and 3, they have damage, but they can operate while repairs are being done.
Oh, so how are we doing with the priority ones?
Oh, we are quite advanced with our preparation with them. We have, even yesterday, we met with our contractors. The permanent secretary met with the contractors. And so we have about 15 schools that we have begun work in progress. We have 42 to commence work, and 189 have been assigned to contractors, and 93 contractors have now gotten approval to proceed. So we're moving strategically, and following yesterday's meeting, I know that we'll be moving at a much faster pace.
Okay. So we see the damage to the schools.
Right.
But what other impacts are we looking at in the education sector?
While we look at the infrastructural damage, the psycho-emotional damage, that's one that you won't see. Yeah. And it's impacting everyone. It's impacting the education officers that supervise the institutions, impacting our teachers that have to deliver the curriculum, impacting our principals that need to lead the delivery of the curriculum, and our students who have to receive the content. So it's something that you're not going to physically see, but it is there, and the ministry is very mindful of that. And so from the beginning, immediately after Melissa, we have indicated, we have mandated, we have supplied our list of clinical psychologists that are available if persons want to speak to someone, they're having any traumas and they need some amount of clinical support. There's a list of 36 clinicians, and these are paid by the Ministry of Education. So it's not, no one will incur those costs but the ministry. We also have a team of guidance counselors who are roving guidance counselors who are willing to give that support. And we do have a very vibrant guidance and counseling unit within the ministry that is very proactive. And so the support is there for our stakeholders if they so need. So that's the area that you won't see an impact, but it is there, and we're very mindful of that. And the extent to which we are mindful of that, we're really cautious in how it is that we even treat the recovery or the return to sense of normalcy. We want persons to lead with the heart. Not to forget the heart in how we lead, to remember that the pain that persons feel, you won't necessarily see it, but it may still exist. Right,
and I wanted to draw a line under this because it's not just open schools, put the students and the teachers back in. The experience can make it difficult for the student to learn,
Right.
to come back and sit in that classroom and learn. Is that something that I'm right on?
You are indeed correct, and our educators have been very creative in how they have approached bringing back the students to learning.
Physically and mentally.
Physically and mentally, in that I know that for the first week, there were institutions that only did psychosocial activities during that week. We are currently in the process of training 450 teachers in play therapy, and that's another thing that will be fused into our system, where teachers are now able to use play to enhance how students cope with their different issues. So we are mindful, and our educators, our principals, and our leaders within our education space are mindful of the psycho-emotional state of our students and teachers.
And teachers.
And you know what's even more marvelous about everything? Our persons who are leading this, they too are going through their own impact from Melissa, but they have risen above their own personal challenges to ensure that the education of our children continues. I
definitely wanted to ask about that because it sounds heavy on the teachers.
Yes, it is.
Right, and but let's talk about that a little bit more. We're going to go to a break right now. Please stay with us. We're talking about the recovery of the education sector and getting the facts from Ms. Terry-Ann Thomas-Gale. Welcome back to Get the Facts. Today we're taking a closer look at the measures the Ministry of Education has put in place to keep learning on track, even in the face of unforeseen disruptions. Joining us is the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Ms. Terry-Ann Thomas-Gale. Lady Gale, let's pick up right where we left off. It sounds heavy for the teachers, and I really want to know what measures are being put in place to support the teachers, because they're also returning to the classroom.
It's a lot, and I think it's at this time that I really want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our educators, our teachers who have really gone beyond to get the students back into learning. Yeah. What we have done within the ministry, along with the psychosocial support that we've made available to our teachers, we have gone ahead and we have looked at the curriculum, primarily those at the primary level, up to, from grades 1 through to 9. We have created, in order to help the teachers with the content delivery, as well as to ensure that there's no gap in students' learning, we have identified a set of prioritized objectives, curriculum objectives. Okay. We have since communicated this to the system, the areas of focus, so that they're not busy trying to cover an entire syllabus. We have also given support as it relates to the old guidance on how to prioritize the core functions of learning. And we want our students and our teachers to realize that assessment at this time, it should not be one of punitive, but more of diagnostic. We want to ensure that the teaching, you're not trying to get an A, we're not pushing a grade, but we're trying to build on the students' potential. And possibilities will exist, or there will be instances where you'll see gaps in students' learning. We will expect to see gaps, but there are measures in place in which we can cater to those gaps and address those gaps. And the ministry is there to support our teachers in how to identify these gaps, how to work with the students in these gaps. So our regional teams, they are so equipped to help our teachers to make that transition from the impact of Melissa to teaching and learning and to the after.
Got it. The psychosocial support, the roving guidance counselors, all of this is available to the teachers as well, right?
And parents and students and even you.
Okay.
It's available to everyone because you may not be within the classroom space. You're a parent. You have to relate to our children. And so we want to ensure that if you need the help, it's there. So the numbers have been communicated in the public space, and it's available to just about everyone.
Right, and those numbers would be on the Ministry of Education.
Yes, they're on the Ministry's website, and it's through a bulletin that it has been communicated.
Wonderful. All right, so let's talk lessons learned. Hurricane Melissa has come and gone. We, for better or worse, we expect there will be more. Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. We went through COVID, and we have what we call an education in emergency plan. While COVID is different from the impact of Melissa, but immediately, when I say immediately, like the day after Melissa, we activated our education in emergency plan. So there are different teams within the ministry that looks at different areas of our education system. So there's a team that works with the infrastructural area that look at the rebuilding back and so forth. And then there's a team that looks at teaching and learning. So our education in emergency plan really saw us really evaluating ourselves, and infrastructure is where we see where building back now has to be better. And so there's new building standards that we have worked on. Even before Melissa, those building standards were developed. So that's already communicated to all our contractors and our principals for them to be aware that there are certain standards in which rebuilding must take place within the institution. So that's one of the lessons learned. Lessons learned as well is, I'm not sure if it's a lesson learned because we have been doing it, but I think our schools are now realizing that assessment or teaching and learning is really continuous. And so you have to stick to a syllabus to ensure that the students, you meet certain timelines. And I'm speaking primarily in terms of our SBAs, our AIs, how it is that you take the students through a syllabus to ensure that they are they're meeting timelines, because anything can happen, and you have to be catching up all that work. That's one of the lessons learned, is timely feedback as it relates to ensure that that's happening. We saw where there were some schools in gap, but impressively, I must again laud our principals and teachers. They have been really working hard. So when we looked at the data for our students sitting our assessment or external assessment, we saw that most schools were indeed meeting these timelines. So that's it. So I think the biggest lessons learned from us is our infrastructure, how it is that we build, how it is that we organize our space for learning. And that's one that we're really targeting and ensuring that we get it right. Our system within the Ministry of Education itself, it has been robust. We were deliberate in ensuring that we're ready to react to any emergency that should take place. And those systems, we have been refining them. We have taken both a digital approach to how it is that we communicate, as well as how it is that we resource our schools. So we're looking at both digital and hard copy. That was able to go seamless because we have communicated our learning kits already. So the regions that are impacted, regions 3, 4, and 5, the 7 parishes, we realize that how we supply them with the resource during this time is completely different from how we do the other parishes.
That's interesting, how we supply these heavily impacted areas. We're almost out of time, and I have to give you a moment to say what's on your heart to our watching audience. But the lessons learned from COVID, we're building on that foundation, and parents actually can reasonably expect continuity and stability because you are adjusting to what has happened. Lady Thomas Gill, we're in the final few seconds of the interview. Speak directly to our audience, parents, teachers, students.
As we stand in the threshold of this new term, looking back at the winds of Hurricane Melissa and forward towards recovery, my message from the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information is one of partnership, patience and hope. We're not simply reopening the school gates. We are rebuilding the heart of our communities. To our educators, you have been the anchor in this storm. Many of you are returning to the classroom, still repairing your own homes. And we see that sacrifice. To our students, you have shown extraordinary courage. You live through sudden change, and yet you continue to show up daily ready to learn. It is okay to feel overwhelmed. The academic year for 26 is not just about your journey. It's not just about your grades. It is about your future. Your potential has not been washed away. We are adjusting schedules and assessments to ensure that you reach your destination. To our parents and guardians, thank you for standing with us. Your partnership and patience remain essential as we guide our children through both academic and emotional recovery. Together, we will restore stability and confidence one day at a time. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Acting Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Ms. Terry-Ann Thomas Gale. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.